Hello there, everybody. My name is Nuoance, and today I have a few announcements. Firstly, it may sound a little different here than usual, I'm not sure yet, but just in case, I was asked to house and dog sit for my family, and will be recording here for the entire month of June while they move into their new home in a state away from this one. I hope that this won't be too inconvenient, but we'll have to see. I can already tell that because I'm in a room filled with mirrors and screens and windows, the tracking here is just god-awful. So if you see my body moving around more than usual for these next 4 videos, I apologize. I am trying my best to make do with what I have, but Also, if you hear barking or any kind of dog noises in the background, I am dog sitting an old dog and a puppy. Both are very attention heavy, so these next few videos might not be as detailed as previous ones because I can't record for as long because they need attention literally 24/7. I already know that because of this setup, I'm not going to be able to stream more than likely until I do return home in July, since the computer is on the other side of the room and I'd be sitting on the floor to stream, and that's really uncomfortable. Secondly, I have another questionnaire for y'all. This one has to deal with models and their impressions they give. Link is going to be in the description. Give it a look and please answer honestly. Because I have to dog sit though, I didn't have any time to prepare a proper video, which I'm remorseful of. I really do want to make sure I give a video that I'm at least somewhat proud of, but while having to situate myself, I have to make a choice on something easily but still interesting to talk about. And after a lot of deliberation, I thought maybe I should talk about my own life in VRChat, specifically the worlds that I've made and the stories that go with them. If y'all end up enjoying this, let me know, and I can do more of these with future worlds. With that, let's get on to the video. I'm sorry for how this video might be looking. I'm trying a new way of doing this because I really didn't know how to get around this. With the new setup I have, my script is actually completely covering my screen and I'm mostly blind besides my peripherals, so I'm going to be using those to point around and show around things. So I decided to try and record this way and see if it works any better. The first world I have is my old home world, which is right here. Back in 2019, I wanted to learn how to build worlds. And I had a million ideas, but I never knew how to move forward with them. And at this time, my avatars were nothing more than glorified MMD models with edited textures. I didn't know what I was doing, and I had no confidence in my abilities. I had people offer to help me, like Rakshaw and Fired, but I didn't know them very well yet, and I felt like I was bothering them with my noob self. But lucky for me, a friend who started content creation at the same time as I ended up teaching himself the first bits of world creation, and I asked for support, which is how this was made. He walked me through my first world, and we bumbled around together cluelessly. I was so proud of this project when I first made it, and the only goal I had was a room filled with memories and hobbies that I could cherish. And in that regard, I feel like this world fits that ideal perfectly. It isn't anything super special, and it was never finished because there is a room right over there that just leads to an empty area. But it will always hold a special place in my heart because it was that very first world that I made. The only real struggle I had was that at the time I didn't know how to set up lighting, and I was just constantly struggling with it, I'm gonna be honest. If it wasn't the avatars going dark, it was the world that was too dark, and there was a weird time where the mirror, everything was super dark in the mirror, but everything was fine out here. It was really weird. But this was my very first step in world creation. I mean, looking over here, I've got tons of pictures ordaining my walls. I've got Flowey over here. I'll just turn this way, haha. I've got my Luigi's Mansion because I cosplay Luigi and I just love those games. I have Hayden, he is my pet that died a long time ago. Lots of memories of photos. I have Helpy, and there used to be a Paper Mario character over there, but she's not there anymore because, whoops, I messed up on the world. Once I started to learn how to world build, I couldn't be stopped, and the ideas just kept flowing. A good friend of mine, Laypip, had a religion known as the Chapel of Flavor, where he did weekly sermons about the lore of flavor. He didn't have a place to host these sermons, though, and I felt like he should have had a spot for his own shenanigans. So, with the help of my friends again, I built this place in roughly a weekend, I think. Sadly, The chapel hasn't been used in a long time, so it's more of a relic now of simpler times. A very important lesson I learned here was the difference between low and high polys. The original look had these walls covered in flowers, and each flower bundle was roughly 40,000 vertices. It was safe to say that just looking into this direction would kill anyone's computer. So, I removed the flowers and ended up adding different forms of decor, like the sausage links that you may or may not see right now. This was also the time where I learned how to use ProBuilder, which is essential in building worlds, at least for me. This is where he would usually stand to have his sermon. He'd have his 4 pillars, or whatever they were called again, just kind of vibing here. We have each of our own photos. That's a photo of me. That's a photo of Frasier, and if I turn around, that's a photo of Orange, and that's a photo of Insane. We're gonna switch into this moment a little quick for a minute. These photos I found on the internet, however, the one I made up here is actually one that I just took the photo of these cherubs and added Guy's face to. We had the Discord link, and then we had the Gods of Flavor, and if we go to each one, they each have their own name. This is the god of salt, or the goddess of salt. That was the goddess of spicy. This was the gods of sweet, if I remember correctly. Yeah, the goddesses of sweet. And then we had umami. We had sour. This is sour. And we had... What was this one again? Bitterness. Oh, I knew it was an alcoholic of some sort. These weren't what the final designs looked like. I didn't have anything to go off of besides, I think, the goddesses of sweet. Minus that, I wasn't sure what to do because I was not as well versed. And my favorite thing is we have sands up there. The next world I want to show you is a big jump and focuses on the game mode in VRChat that I really enjoy called Murder Mystery. I've streamed the game before, link to previous video up here, but in case you didn't know, the quick overview is it's an interactive game where you have to use your provided skills to either commit murder, survive, or solve mysteries. The games can last from 2 to 6 hours on average, but the end goal is to try and survive to the end of the game. I wanted to have a creative contribution to the game, and thus, the Carnival was born. This map is the longest and most soul-crushing project I worked on in VRChat, and almost had me quit content creation completely. Now, if you try to search any of these worlds, you're going to notice I have 2 carnivals, and I won't go into details just yet, but TLDR, I lost the files to the project, and the one that was the actual public version, which is the one you're seeing now, is the one that I would usually update once I had a big update done, while the other one was a test world that I made separately for stress tests. If you want to see a stark contrast between an expert and a novice, look no further. I worked on this map for the same amount of time that it took 4 ponies to build a Devouring. That kind of comparison can be a little demotivating at first, but it honestly didn't get to me that much. What did get to me was the reception that this map got. I knew I wasn't an expert, but after the first real game, I got some harsh advice on what to do to make the map better. So I improved it and hosted games with my friends testing for me. Shortly after, I decided to rip the band-aid off and just release the Carnival to the public. At first, I thought it had great reception, and I was excited because I focused first and foremost on making sure the map was as optimized as I could make it at the time. Hello, Pat Pat. Whenever a game was being hosted in it, I'd try to join to get real-time feedback. I wanted this map to be as best as it could be, and I was getting great commentary from my friends. Any game that I stayed afterwards, I heard praise. It was great. Which is why it killed me even more to realize that these same people were also talking behind my back and mocking my work and comparing it to others who I shouldn't have been compared to. Other map creators started making their own comments that were a little unnecessary, and I had these times where people would openly mock my map until they found out I was the creator, and then they would suddenly love it. I wanted honesty, and I kept stressing that it wouldn't hurt my feelings if they told me exactly what was wrong with the project. But instead of being honest to make the map more enjoyable, I only heard through the grapevine negative feedback that didn't have any really critiques, so I didn't know what to do. I became obsessed with making this world better, and I constantly removed pieces and re-added props to try and elevate it even more. I went around and asked all my friends who knew more than me for help, and quite a few of them did actually give me some good advice. I eventually made it into what the second map looks like, and someone wanted to host a special role-playing themed game on it, and so I made a private version of the world, and the second people joined, they claimed heavy lag and low frames. I spent literally months making it even more optimized than before. I couldn't understand how this was happening. I remember that day so clearly. I was on desktop just watching and also lagging myself, although previous stress tests didn't make me lag in the slightest. There were rumors that the other murder mystery Discord was purposely sabotaging my map because when any other group hosted, there was no problem. But the moment someone from their Discord hosted a game, it was always too laggy. I couldn't prove this, and honestly, it wouldn't have been surprised if it was my fault. I was taught only by my friends, and they didn't have the time to look over every little thing I did. I remember getting off that night, laying in bed and sobbing. About a week later is when the worst of the worst happened. A friend offered to help me fix the map because he could tell that this creation was completely consuming me to the point of an unhealthy addiction. Any free time was dedicated to slowly peeling through each item, texture, light, sound, and trigger script to make sure everything was working well. I became hypersensitive if anyone was on the map, not because of the entertainment I felt, but because I felt sick every time somebody was planning to play on my map, and I found myself avoiding it in-game and only working on it in Unity. I both couldn't stop working on it, but I couldn't stand looking at it. My mental health was at its worst. With how bad it got, I was terrified of showing anyone my world because I knew one small comment was enough to set me off. We started to try to get the files into the world on a GitHub so that we could work on it together, and ended up losing everything. There was, at the time to my knowledge, no way to recover the files, and I can remember just how numb I felt. I didn't know if I felt relieved or horrified. Honestly, looking back, I'm still unsure if this was a blessing in disguise. Not everyone's going to like your work, and people will sometimes be fake in front of you to either spare your feelings or not cause waves. Seeing how bad I was back then, I know it was probably for the best that the project was ripped out of my hands, but the aftermath still hurt. In the group who weren't fond of my map, somebody started to spread rumors that my map had the ability to crash people because of how unoptimized it was. They claimed it was because I told them, but the only thing I said was that there were two versions, one optimized that I was working on, and the previously slightly less optimized one. I had spent all my time updating the world to work smoother, so I thought that that was clear enough. Eventually, I found out about this rumor, and I felt awful. My map wasn't a crasher, and it was a harsh reminder that the crowd always thinks they have the answer. Minus one creator, all the other creators who made murder mystery maps were very polite and positive towards the new map. It was the people who don't create maps that had the loudest opinions, and that really stuck with me. I believe that everyone is entitled to their opinion, but you have to have a reasoning behind it. You can't just say something terrible just because you think it's terrible. Give examples. If you didn't like the map because the Haunted Mansion is too dark at night and that's a main area you walk through, then fine. You let me know and I can fix it. People that think that I can just snap my fingers and everything will make itself, it's ridiculous. They don't realize how much time and energy and effort goes into each map, and how long it took to pick the music, redo the textures, place everything in a way that makes the game more optimized for the players and the host. Not everyone is gifted to get it right the first try, and it will usually take time and time again after being beaten down before you can make something that people recognize as good. And that's just a part of learning, but being a jerk to those who are still learning is cruel. I do eventually have plans to one day start completely over on the Carnival, but it's very far in the back compared to my other projects I want to work on. Going over the history of the map, I didn't even touch on the lore that came with it, and it's sprinkled throughout the entire game board. If anything, I may remake it into an interactive map rather than a murder mystery, so that it would work out better. Even now, I'll be honest, it feels both nice and horrible to be here. Back at the beginning of 2020, when the Pandaabear started, the Meatly decided to host an event. He made a theme known as Brighter Tomorrows and wanted artists of any medium to make something inspired by Bendy and the Ink Machine that matched that theme. I decided to also participate, and I already knew what I wanted to do. Warning, spoilers for Bendy and the Ink Machine if you haven't played yet, but at the end of the game, there is a letter from Wally Franks that he moved to a beach in Florida with his wife, and the grandchildren were staying for the summer. I felt like having a scene where it's his summer home and the sun is going down for the day, looking forward to another tomorrow in paradise, would be fantastic. Now, I live in Florida, so I know what Florida beaches look like. This is not it. I only had 2 weeks to make the map, and I was doing a bunch of new things for the map. Some of them didn't make the cut, but most did. I used terrain for the first time. I had a spawn and despawn area for building sandcastles, and post-processing that activated in a collider to go underwater, among other things. So in terms of building, the easiest thing to do was to make 2 big cliff sides to block out the world so it didn't just look like nothing. Honestly, when it comes to this world, I'm actually kind of pretty proud of it. Sure, the world's a little small and it's not my best work, but out of everything, I do feel like it really encompassed what I wanted it to be. It's very simple, it's relaxing. I'm not going to be perfect. Next is the map I am still most proud of, made in a month for Halloween of 2020. Spiritual Pumpkin was a party map that had drinking options, but isn't focused on drinking only. We have a lot of minors in this game, and also recovering alcohols, and those who just can't drink in VRChat at all. And this is the first test run of a future map I've been working on in the background. There are a lot of drinking games, but each room was set with a reminder to only drink if you're wanting to, and not to be pressured by other drinkers. All the games have alternatives to drinking, mainly through exercise or some other punishment. I still don't have enough ideas for good VR punishments that will work with desktop VR and full body, which is why this was a test run. The inspiration for this world was some house I found online, and I loosely based the design on that. This world's optimization was fire, and something I still like to humble brag about. I am super proud of this project, and the reception it got over Halloween filled my heart with joy. I loved seeing people enjoying themselves and having a fun and a safe environment, and I want to continue working on projects in the future that give this exact same energy. I learned so much from this world, and I remember being so hesitant to make it at first because I feared that my good friend Rack would be offended that I made another drinking-styled map. Luckily, she's an actual angel and even offered to help and give really good advice on what to do to make the map even better. I know I said before, but I'm gonna add it here. Rack, Fire, if you two are watching this far into the video, I want to thank you again for how much you both supported and helped me with this. And with all my maps, honestly. I am like a beached fish, and you guys keep bringing me your own water. I knew that I wanted this map to have a themed room for it to relax when things get too loud in the main areas. The Gothic Pinterest was originally going to be a devouring themed room, but I changed my mind in the end because I was too shy to ask any of them for permission. Hence, the antisocial Nuo strikes again. The most popular room that you see on my videos, this is Rainbow Retreat. Rainbow Retreat was originally inspired as an idea from the cutest little set of photos I found online one day. I love the look of pastel rainbows on the stairs, so I made my own. This map started out as a personal project, not meant for anyone else minus myself and a few close friends. But it ended up blowing up quietly in the background, and has been used as a background for VRChat streamers a few times now. The map, along with Spirits of Pumpkin, are what revived my confidence in what I made. I've gotten so much positive feedback from this project that I'm still flabbergasted at the amount of people who enjoyed my silly little project. It's still a work in progress, and I should one day continue to work on it, but I have to pause and finish it for other projects. Maybe now that I'm stuck in a house that isn't mine for a month, I could get back to it? Made back in November, this was a mix of a birthday and Christmas present for a very dear friend of mine, Maju. This was a struggle to work on since she made 3 different instances where her main character lived. The first one was a house, shown in one animation. The second was like an apartment, shown in another. The final photo is she drew of a dormitory, which was the most recent at the time. I decided to go with the dormitory and made my own personal changes to it since there wasn't much to go off. This was my first real Udon world, and thanks to once again Fire and Rack, it came out beautifully. It took a while to get out of community labs, but regardless, I do hold it close to my heart since it is a physical piece of lore building up to something bigger. My original plans with this as well was that I was going to have it to be a commission world where you could add rooms. Since they are dormitories, each area has a space open for other rooms, and if I got somebody who wanted to commission with their friends, they could each have their own dorm that they would spawn into as their own home area. Unfortunately, I ended up losing the world for a while, and now that I've gotten it back finally, I'm just not really up to doing that unless there was a real market for it. So if you are interested in that idea, let me know. Finally, we reach our dream. This is the last world I have public, and if you follow my Twitch, you'll know it was originally made in 3 hours on stream. The original plan was that the world was going to stay private for my subscribers to use how they'd like, and then after that month it'd go public for all to use. Well, I couldn't sleep one night a few days before it was meant to go public, and I decided to add a small cabin for relaxation purposes, which almost took another month. I enjoy the peace of this world, and it's still in Community Labs, so if you want to support me, please go give the world some love. With that, though, that's all of my worlds I've made public so far. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it was interesting. I'm hoping also you don't get sick from all the wiggle waggling of the camera because it follows my head, so like... As per usual, though, thank you all so much for watching if you made it this far. Don't forget the questionnaire I have posted down in the description. All of the people who can do it, the better. Send it to your friends. Anybody that plays VRChat, just answer it if you can. As per usual, drink your water, eat your broccoli, and have a fantastic day. See you all in the next video.